Hello, and welcome back to the Triforce podcast. This is episode 19,
Oh
and
my
today
goodness.
we're gonna talk about econ traits. I was gonna try to find like a really exciting way to say that, but I mean mercenaries, pirates, space pirates, Tom Kench, woo! I'm SpicyAppies. Joined today by my co-host Jirachy
Hello.
and RamKev.
Hello, it is
We
I.
we may also be joined for anyone who's watching and not listening. We may also be joined by Jirachy's roommate's cat, Lucy, who was here a moment ago. We have a cam set up for her if she comes back, but uh, yeah, we'll keep you updated on that one. But before we get into things, we will do what we always do. My week was great. I've just been playing TFT. I was just telling everyone that I have not been able to sleep well this week because I'll go to bed and then I'll wake up at like the ass crack of dawn and I'm like, oh shit, TF2.
TF2.
Like Jake sucks, huh? Like I just started thinking about TFT at like 6 o'clock in
my
the morning and I
God.
can't go back to bed. It's really fucking bad. Uh, yeah, that's my week. I've been having fun. I had a good stream yesterday. I won my first like singles tournament in TFT yesterday, which was very
People
cool. That was
clap.
fun. Yeah, it was a great
Fun.
tournament, great stream, good time. So, how's your week been, Jirachi?
Um, I want this cat to come back. That's how my
Yeah.
week's going. Oh my God, this cat hopped on my lap at like 4:40. Was here for the entire like setup, and like 2 minutes before the show, she just hops off and is now in the corner. And I want her to come back really badly.
Very temperamental guy.
It's actually a daily occurrence now, and I'm down to make this a recurring segment of just Jirachy's roommate's cat. It's not even my cat. But other than that, I don't know. Like, the game still feels meh. I've been hiding on Smurf for the past week. It's fine. I don't know. I'm just
Smurf, man.
I'm just gearing myself up for casting stuff. That's about all.
I thought you were looking kind of blue.
I'm
Alright,
just,
I know everyone
I'm-
just cringed. I cringed too, but
I'm just
you know.
hoping I'm just waiting to be able to announce stuff. That's all.
Oh yeah. Man, I immediately read that Smurf joke. Wow. How are you doing, Kevin?
And the podcast now.
Oh, that was a Smurf joke.
I didn't even realize
Yeah.
there was a Smurf joke.
It was
until-
that bad. Oh my god.
You know,
I want to die. I want to die.
I had a great week. Let's see. Except I had a TA for a course, but outside of that, I had these. So for those that don't know, I play some gacha games. I'm a gacha game enthusiast, but I don't spend money on them. I had a great week of rolling for anime waifus. So
Is this like Genshin or
Genshin, Fate Grand Order, it's just those two. But
Oh, gotcha. You got the kit and the caboodle.
there was a point where I was playing like 4 gacha games simultaneously. It was getting pretty bad, but I hit a pretty good roll. I was rolling for the new character that came out, Shenhe, and I hit like another 5-star with her. It was the first time I've lost a 50-50 on the pity, but
I don't know what that means.
it's so basically if you're rolling for like a specific character, like a 5-star in Genshin, you're guaranteed to hit it on your second 5-star, but the first 5-star that you find can be completely random. So basically, that's why it's like a 50-50.
Oh,
So
okay.
either you hit it on the first one or you hit it on the second one. And so I've been hitting on the first one every time. This is the first time that I didn't hit on the first one because I actually hit the other 5-star on the. It was like I rolled 10 times and I got 2 5-stars, but I got extremely lucky, basically.
Oh yeah. That seems awfully I feel like that feels like hatching a draconic egg or
It is. I mean, that's the thing. That's the for fun feature. Like,
oddly, that is like pretty pertinent to what we're talking about today.
it's true.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know Ramblin plays Genshin as well. I want
Yeah,
to.
I got rambling at it.
Fuck. TFT. Wait, is there like PvP? Can we do like a TFT Genshin tournament? I just.
Oh,
That's
there's
one of
no
the things here,
PvP in Genshin, but there's like you can visit other people's worlds, but there's
Oh.
also not much you can do when you visit other people's worlds.
It's the TFT Genshin party, I guess. I wonder if Spencer still plays. I know he was playing Genshin a lot. I think in like set 4, maybe. There was it was either set 4 or set 5 where he basically wasn't playing TFT. He was just playing Genshin, and he just came to tournaments and smurfed anyways. So.
Oh, I barely. So the thing is, I barely play Genshin for the like the game content. Although it has pretty good game content, I just do it so that I can roll like a degenerate.
What, you don't get enough of that in TFT?
Yeah,
No,
TFT
no,
looking
it's
ass.
completely different. Those units go away. These ones stick around.
TFT looking ass. So, speaking of gacha, I mentioned earlier, our theme of the day, because we have those now, is we're going to be talking about economy, cold hard cash throughout the history of TFT. So if anyone doesn't know what an economy trade is, I mean it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a trade in TFT that helps you get money. It either gives you units that you can sell for money. It gives you. Would you count items as economy?
Yeah, basically, it's like a trait that it gives you no combat power. So if it doesn't give you any combat power, the only other thing that it can do is like
Gives you resources.
give you resources.
Yeah, and there have been a lot throughout the set. We're gonna first to get them a little chronologically here because the thing is, Merc is super popular right now, and Yordle is really obviously popular as well. Coming off last patch, we are now on patch. Is it 12.1? Is that what it is?
12.1, yes.
Where, this is the patch after Kaisa being really everyone just playing Kaisa doing the 4-2. Like Yordle full open into 4-2, no one plays the fucking game, and then everyone just dies because they didn't play the game. We're coming off of that patch. And so now more than ever, I think people's eyes are on econ trades. But, while they are, I think, played much more consistently right now, but like game day, I think a lot more people are trying to play econ trades like every single game than historically. There have been some pretty crazy econ trades.
Yeah, and they've been busted at certain points, like busted.
Yeah, bussin'. Okay, maybe. Anyways, so the first one was Pirates in set 1. I didn't play set 1. I don't know what this did, but anyone know?
From the League of Legends wiki, while at least 3 pirates are in play at the end of each round against another player, spawns a chest that grants between 0 and 4 gold.
Hell yeah! 0 gold.
Just
Let's go.
as basic of an econ trade as you can get, pretty much. Which, like, we were talking in pre-show, and I completely forgot that trade existed.
Yeah. I mean, like, I just remember because I remember Gangplank was in set 1, and I knew he was a pirate there too. So Gangplank has always been like I want to say he's always been associated with some kind of econ trait.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I guess yeah. Pirates. I didn't even think about this before, but Pirates in set 1, Gangplank, and then like set 3 is just in space. So it's just fucking called Space Pirates.
Space Pirates instead of normal pirates. Well done, Riot Games.
Look, the game's in space now. What are the pirates? They're space pirates. Wow.
Yeah, I mean that is as simple as an econ trait can get. I guess you just get
like nothing big, just some extra gold if you got the units in. They're just sometimes you get the gold, sometimes you don't, and I guess that's that.
Yeah, I'm curious. Was GP? Was he like a clone of what he is now, or is he now a clone of what he was in set 1, or is it like a whole different
No.
GP?
It was very different. He used to like lay down barrels.
Oh,
and explode the barrels on the enemy team.
I forgot he does that in League now.
Yeah,
right. That's his thing in League. Okay, gotcha. Well, yeah, that's not a particularly exciting econ trait. Really.
Yeah, it's very, very vanilla.
That's super vanilla. The thing is, I feel like now econ traits are set up as this like, I mean, it's like a gotcha game. It's like you see 3 Merc on 2-1, like, oh shit, I could go 8th, but imagine like
Yeah.
and like there's that really hype buildup of like lose streaking, building shit up, and then all of a sudden you get rewarded in one big go. It's just a huge hit of dopamine, essentially.
Hmm.
Yeah. I
Uh,
think one of the big things about econ traits now that they've kind of figured out is having a high roll possibility out of them. With with fortune, with the giant cash outs, with mercs, with like, oh, you hit the jackpot and you get like an item component, like high rolling out of nowhere, on like one loss, or these insane chests once you get up to like the 10-12 loss range. There's always some kind of like big jackpot high rolling component now to the econ traits, except for Yordle. Yordle's not really.
I mean, your big jackpot is
but
Vakar.
yeah,
yeah.
there's still
Vakar
a little bit,
3, baby.
but
You can also
and
like hit the 3-cost Yordles, right? Rather than like
yeah,
if you see a Vex on 2 like 2-2 after you just played 3 Yordle, like, oh my god, that I had rolled out of my mind.
yeah,
Right?
and we can probably talk about it later, which I think like Yordles aren't as high roll because they exist at the same time as Mercs, and Mercs have the high roll component. But even Draconic, which was basically which is an econ focused trait, and not so much like, oh, you build up this giant chest and then you cash out. It still had like the 4-5 turn eggs that you could insanely high roll.
And the
So
golden eggs.
the gold, yep,
Shout out
the
to the golden eggs.
Spencer 5-turn golden egg at regionals.
Yeah. Well, we will get to the golden egg. So set 1 pirates super simple. There was nothing in set 2, right?
I don't think
No.
so. And that's the thing, like, I will say, if anybody remembers playing in set 2, like 3-star 4 costs, how they're all like super common nowadays. Like, I feel like you know, every other game, maybe every 3 games, you'll probably see one. Like, you see one and you're not that surprised. And set 2, those were not a thing. And I think it might have something to do with econ traits, because in set 2 there was nothing. All there was were the boards changed because of the elements. No way to generate econ. I remember set 2 was when I started like actually playing, and there was this person that flamed me for going for a 3-star brand. They're like, "You are so dumb." I hit the 3-star brand, and they're like, "Why would you do that?" And then I went first. So fuck that guy.
Fuck.
But
Fuck, guy.
because they were like so uncommon, though, right? You would never, ever, ever see something like that for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were super high roll back then. Like now, as I think especially like sets 3, they still felt pretty high roll. But starting in set 4, especially because of Chosen, because of Fortune, like there were a lot of caches with Fortune giving Nikos, and then like Lucky Lantern and the dice. Like from that point onwards, 3-star 4 cost didn't even like they haven't felt that high roll. Like they're still pretty high.
Balancing.
They're still pretty high roll, but there's just so much more chances to get them now. There's so much more gold, and the econ trade's just giving so much more shit that can get you there.
And that's
Yeah,
the
I
thing,
think
like we complain about, hey, like this 3-star forecast feels like real bad right now, or something
yeah.
like along those. Like back in those days when you couldn't even hit them. Well, I'm pretty sure they were all OP. They all had to be OP because it was so like
Uh-huh.
confined. Nowadays, like the people over at TFT actually have to balance these units because it's so easy.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
find.
It's so telling, like how much more economy is getting funneled in the game when there isn't an econ trade. Or I want to talk about set 3 and set 3 worlds in particular a little bit, with Big Bang Galaxy. But yeah, when that much money's funneled in the game, like it's very telling when they have to start actually balancing 3-star 4 costs. Like Teemo 3 can't do like 30,000 damage anymore because you know what? People can hit it.
Yeah, it's like back in the old days when the dinosaurs existed and 3-star 4 costs were an
Yeah.
auto win.
Or like Jin 3's third shot doing like 9,999.
Yeah.
Like I was just the numbers were always pretty funny. So in set 3, the econ trait was like we alluded to earlier. I just said earlier was pirates in space. Fuck yeah.
Space Pirates.
Which
It was Darius GP. It was a 5-cost GP.
Darius GP Graves. Graves was in there. He was a 1
Oh
cost.
yeah.
Or was he a 1 cost?
Was Jace a space pirate? Am I
Yeah, Jace was a space.
Jace?
Graves, Darius, Jace, and Gangplank.
Yeah.
In order.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Wasn't there? I thought there was 5. Oh, it was 2 and 4, right?
It was 2
2
and 4, and 4 required a Gangplank.
Yeah.
So, and the difference, like for people who didn't play set 3, it was when a space pirate killed a unit, it had a 50% chance to drop a gold, and on 2 pirates, and on 4 pirates, it had an additional 33% chance to drop a component. So,
And you could get spats.
yes.
Including spats.
It's kind of what Tom Kench is right now, but across 4 units, and honestly, that might have been like the healthiest econ trait, low key, because you also, if you wanted to actually farm gold from it, you had to itemize. For the most part, you had to itemize the space pirates. You couldn't just plop 3 pirates on your board, build up this huge chest, not itemize them at all, and then cash out. You actually had to invest in the units themselves. Like a random Darius 1 wasn't like, it could kill shit. It wasn't really, but if you actually itemized AP on him and got him to chain these dunks and just farm the entire board and get like 3-4 gold from killing an entire level 7 board, then it was actually worth it. And even then, it was like 3-4 gold. It's not insane, but it's good enough that like you felt good itemizing it.
Yeah, that one was like the ultimate, like actually first or 8. You know, I think like nowadays, I feel like a lot of these econ traits aren't really first or 8. You know, like
They're first or first.
They lean very heavily towards first, but that one was like, if I don't find 1 GP, my ass is grass. I can't play the game, or you're gonna have to play something else or whatever.
Well, yeah, you know what it was that best in slot was just like as many ice cream cones as you could get.
Yeah,
and then like 4-2, half the lobby would just fucking send it, looking for a yeah. I think like this 4-2 meta was bad. Everyone just sent it for a GP at some point in set 3. I think they buffed GP his base damage by like 50 or 100 or something. And all of a sudden, people realized that was like a pretty big buff, and that if you hit a GP at 4-2 with a bunch of chalices or like a Rabadons or anything, just the whole board goes, and you get infinite items.
The thing is, like GP was always like a high value unit for like the entirety of set 3. Like starting in set 3, you would just play GP with like Rebels, for example.
For the stun,
that was really strong. Yeah. It was stupid strong. Like back, if anybody remembers, like the Rebel comp was just Rebels plus any of the 5 costs that you could play, and you just stick them on your board. Outside of like Echo and Thresh, Echo and Thresh belonged in the cyber side of the OP comps, and then everybody else fit on Rebels because they all had cross synergies. But you know, GP was really strong. For like, there was the Sork GP build.
Yeah,
Sork gave you AP on
just one shot the entire board. Get double strike and one shots the whole board twice.
One shots the whole board. You know, you play GP when you're playing like the flexible mech, for example, right? Because he would give you Demolitionist.
Demolition was such a good synergy.
Yeah, it was
have on a
super good.
And I think that's one of the big things about set 3 econ trait compared to now, is that I think they've realized more that like the units need to not be insane, because like honestly, Jace was a fucking ridiculously good unit in set 3. GP was such a good 5 cost. Darius was great for a 2 cost. He could just carry the game if you had the right items, the right setup for him. Like there was that Celestial build with him where you just run Celestial and like you run GP, you'd run Jace Darius and farm infinite money, and then like Darius 2 or Darius 3 would just carry your whole game.
But those were definitely like numbers. You can sort of tune the numbers for those, because there were moments in set 3 when like Darius is trash. You know, there were some patches where nobody was playing Darius at all just because he would like do nothing, and you'd be like, oh. Dairy.
The cat came on. Yeah, I mean,
Oh
I
yeah,
think
the cat's here.
the thing is that they almost made the not I wanted to say the same mistake, but it was almost the same in this set, right? Because then on PBE, GP for a little bit, like for one patch in particular, I think on the PBE, one like
Oh,
daily
not even
PBE.
first patch.
Was it? Yeah,
GP.
that was the first one. He got buffed
Patch
though
one
as
GP.
well.
Yeah, no, patch one GP and patch one MF were ridiculous.
Yeah, and this
Like
is
they were
probably this
legitimately
at
strong,
6.
and it was
Like
like, well, like if you like lose streak mercs is really strong right now, but back then it would just be win streak mercs. Like
because
at
GP would
the
just
beginning
farm
of
you
set five,
infinite,
you just
and
play.
you could just
Yeah,
you
it's
just 3-star
ridiculous.
him, and it was fine.
Yeah.
They yeah, the units themselves have been tuned down a lot, which I think it is again very telling of how strong it is to have a trait that is. I mean, because the thing is, right? Uh, traits are good and all, but a trait's never going to be amazing unless it's like super fucking broke. Take Imperial for example. The trait's not going to be amazing unless the units are good and they work well together for the most part, right? So Imperial in set 6 is a good example of this where they just buffed the shit out of it because like the trait was already insane. Like the amount of damage you get out of that trait is fucking crazy. But the thing is, I mean, the inverse units are not bad even.
But like they
Like
don't really synergize well with each
yeah, they
other.
don't do anything together. They don't do
Yeah.
like anything together. I even say like Swain was already amazing. Like Sion was pretty good. Talon was great. And Samira was fine. And like you'd have all these okay units, all okay to like amazing units with this amazing synergy, but you just couldn't put them on a board together and
Yeah,
then
because
make it
you have like two dead slots basically, and you'd be like, "Ow." Ah.
yeah. So if an econ trait is and you know about this more later as well, but if an econ, I think they realize that if an econ trait, even if it doesn't give any like actual battle stats or like battle effect, if all the units are just fucking cracked, it's gonna be really good, like really good. If you had to play Jace, GP, Darius, and not that like Space Pirates were super like over centralizing,
Yeah, they were never
and
like,
sorry,
the top. Well, they were, but it was
for a little
never
bit,
like
yeah.
the most consistent. Like
Yeah.
if you have like it's not like, oh, I hit early Darius and a Jace. Well,
It's
sometimes
Tom.
it was, but like, or like a Darius Graves. Oh yeah, baby, it's about to go down.
I feel like at different points though, like hitting an early Darius Jace was pretty cracked, especially
Yeah,
if
Darius
you could
Jace like
itemize the
was
Darius, because like early Jace was pretty good in set 3,
He was so
and
good.
and the Darius, if you had the items for him, he can clean up fights and really get your econ going, and then you can use that either to just push 8, like do whatever you want there, or opt into trying to find Gangplank. And that even like extending into competitive, like we don't. I barely remember set 3 competitive except for Worlds, and we saw Zhuanzi basically one trick space pirates at Worlds and was
Oh, I do
basically going.
remember that.
He was
Yeah.
going only first or eighth, basically. But
yeah.
Yeah.
He
it was something he was opting into was the thing, and it wasn't. He didn't win Worlds off it, which
Yeah, it wasn't like the
kind of showed
strongest
like
strategy.
the strategy is not consistent. You can find success, but you're not like going to be the best in the world when this is your only strategy. But it is viable for like putting yourself in the conversation, which I think is okay.
Yeah. I did want to talk a little bit about it. Worlds in set 3 as an example. We were talking about forecasts. This is kind of quickly circles back to that, and that like so Big Bang Galaxies added before Worlds in set 3, which is a galaxy where like you basically got a ton of free money, you got a free fawn, all this crazy stuff, right? It's just super high roll lobbies.
Free
Um,
rerolls, free
yeah, it was just yeah, there's so much going on. And at that Worlds, like we saw I think it was a 3-star forecast one almost every single lobby in the last day. Um Doubles hit Timo 3 at least twice that last day, right? Am I crazy?
Something like that.
Yeah.
That's
There's like a Timo
easily
3
the
Gen 3 board at one point.
I don't think there's
That's
going to
not Space
be
Pirates.
much
That's
argument against Big Bang's inclusion in set 3 Worlds is the biggest mistake that TFT will ever make in competitive.
yeah.
And I don't think that's ever going to change.
Good
And that's
old
just
Big Bang Galaxy.
yeah.
Imagine triple Lucky Lantern plus like what was the set 5 for fun mechanic? I don't even I don't even remember anymore.
That 5-1 was Lucky Lantern, right?
Uh,
Oh no, it was
well,
Stimmy. It's a
uh,
5.5.
Yeah.
yeah, or like the double radiant items. Like, imagine like the four
Oh,
fun
I
things
understand
that
the
are
radiant
supposed to not be competitive and are supposed to get people into just like, oh, we're just gonna go out with a bang. Yeah, imagine that, but at Worlds. Like,
It just goes to show that like giving people too much gold. This is what I wanted to say: is that giving people too much gold can be a bad thing. I think.
It also
Uh,
sometimes exacerbates a lot of problems, because
yes.
it's like, rich get richer and the poor get diddly squat.
Yeah. And that's why econ traits can be insane, and they can also be. I mean, if you look at Merc right now, I feel like every time you see someone get Merc on 2, and you're like, oh, they probably won the game. They,
Yeah.
they probably
It's
won
one
the.
of those things, right? Like they didn't really deserve it, or like they didn't do anything besides like get mercs drop for them or like
Unless
get
they
some
rolled
merc
once
off
on 4, because then they're a fucking Chad.
yeah.
If they roll for that shit on
Yeah, if
4,
they roll a 0 on 4, that's
they deserve
commitment to the cause. That's
it.
somebody that deserves to go top 4 because they're straight up gambling.
Yeah.
They're flipping a coin straight up saying, if I don't hit, I'm okay with my game going to shit.
Yeah.
And they hit early mercs, it's like, well, great.
yeah,
Nice.
and
Thank you.
I feel like it's been that way in competitive too, where like um, the moments from competitive where we think involving the econ traits aren't even necessarily like the good ones. Aren't you just got gifted fortune or draconic and you
You just top
and
4 for
and
free.
and you and you take your free first and get out. It's like people who were forcing it. Like Solus at set 4 regionals was basically hard forcing fortune,
Yep.
and
Yes.
he got like 11th or something.
Because when you need firsts, it's
He,
like that's the way to
yeah,
do it,
I
right?
mean,
yeah,
he topped like second day, I want to say.
yeah. He did really well the first 2 days and just didn't end up doing as well the third day. But on the flip side, Zaiku at set 4 Worlds like kind of just got fortune and got a free I full flame got the most undeserved first I think I've ever seen in a competitive game.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in that game. Sad.
Well, it seems like a great time to start talking about fortune, which I think is
Wait,
kind
wait,
of
wait, we
the
haven't
birth
talked about
of.
Bard yet though.
Oh,
The
right.
missed
The,
unit of set 3, 3.5.
the hidden econ trait. My bad. Yeah, it turns out that anyone who does not know, Bard was Astro. What was he? Astro.
Astro
Mystic.
Mystic.
What was it called? Mystic. Yeah, Mystic was the synergy.
Yeah.
And he he kind of single-handedly turned Astro into a econ trait, but he didn't even need it. He was just so what he did was he'd farm meeps every time his spell. The fucked up thing is it was his spell. It wasn't like every round you get a meep, right? It was every time he casts you get a meep.
So
So
if you're playing Bard and you're like, oh, my board is ass, no meeps for you. You don't get any meeps.
My favorite game from set 3 that I like still have a VOD of just for me was Nicoverse when everyone just got 2 Nicos. I got dropped the Bard from Orb, double Nico'd the Bard, and was level 7 at 2/6.
Hell
yeah.
I
So
wish I was joking.
Hell
what
yeah,
meeps did
Bard. No. The
every
play is you Nico 1 Bard, then you wait for the Bard because you have 2 Bards in there farming meeps at the same time. And then you wait to upgrade, and then you Nico again for the second Bard again.
Wait, was that actually the play?
Maybe. I don't
Was
know.
it? I genuinely. Who cares? I need to look at the numbers. I need to look at numbers, but like, yeah, it's just more. And Bard became kind of ubiquitous in set 3 at some point.
What the meeps did is for everyone who doesn't know is that so he'd farm meeps with his spell, and then they'd go on they'd pile up on your bench and you could sell them to get XP. I think it was 1 XP per meep, right?
Mhm.
And so
So something simple like
Yeah, and so he also had to trade Astro, which you definitely need to play with him. You didn't need to play Astro for him, but if you did play Astro for him, how much did it reduce his mana by? It was like a pretty significant margin,
that.
right?
50%?
I want to say 33-ish.
It was
30.
a lot.
Whatever it was, it reduced Bard 2's number of autos from 3 to 2.
Oh, reduces mana cost by 30.
That, sure.
Yeah.
And then Bard, let's see. Bard was I don't understand these numbers.
I think was he like 80 or 100 or something?
Well,
He didn't have enough mana for
and
what he
health.
did.
It might have been like 90, but then like but with star level it scaled how much extra mana he got from autos. So it went from like 6 to 3 or something.
It was a
1 to
passive that like generate. So Bard's a passive was like he generates mana passively.
Yeah.
So it went from 5 to 20 to 90, and it scaled off of AP.
It was 90. It was 90 mana then.
Yeah, that's right. He also this is also the time when it doesn't work like this anymore. So Ruins has been through a lot of changes. It now only applies like physical damage. Like if you have like let's say what's an on-hit effect? Like Talon. If Talon has a Ruins, he does not apply his bleed on the Ruins proc, right? That was different in set 5. Set 5 that would work. In set 4 set 4 and back, there was an interaction between it might be even beyond that. So there's an interaction between Shojin and Runans, where Shojin was an on-hit effect, or it was on attack effect, right? Or I guess it was on hit. What do you call it?
On hit.
Yeah.
Because
so
Runans didn't work with on attack. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So what Shojin would do, what you could do is you would just build Runan's Shojin, and you'd be getting so much fucking like Runan's Shojin Rage Blade. You'd be getting infinite mana, and then you just put those items in like a Janna 2 at the end of the game, and like, you're like, oh, quick 9. Janna with those items just CCs the board for forever in Star Guardians. It was just
You play legendaries, you get Janna, and you put like
Aesol with Moralos.
Your boy Urgot comes in, eats the whole team.
Yep. Yeah, because he pulled people into his like one shot thing. So basically, Bard was just fucking cracked. Like he just got mana from every source possible, and you'd get. I mean, you could farm like. How many meeps do you think you could farm up to and rig reasonably in a given round?
It depends on like what board you're playing against, but like sometimes
like
you can farm like 5 meeps easy, right? Like you
yeah.
5, and that's like 5 gold. That's the equivalent of 5 gold in one round.
Fuck it, play Space Pirates as well. Get 10 gold in one round.
Like you're not getting 5 gold with Yordles in a turn. I'll tell you. Actually, well, you're getting it, but you're waiting until you have Vagar, and then you sell Vagar for 5 gold. But other than that, you're not getting 5 gold from Yordles.
Yeah. We can. I think we're good now, so we can now look at Fortune. I think Fortune is kind of the birth of modern day Econ trade.
Ah, God, I hated Fortune.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. So what Fortune did, it was basically Merc in that you would so you couldn't see what you were getting every single in Merc you like check the chest, see what you get. You'd want to lose streak. There's 3 and 6 Fortune. 6 Fortune you just got better stuff, I'm pretty sure. And so you would just lose streak up to, I think it was up to 12 as well. Yeah. And then if you got like a 12 Fortune cash out, it was the fattest shit.
You got Nico's out though. You got 5 costs. You probably get an upgraded 5 cost out of it. Like there's, or you could get 3 Thief's Gloves and lose the game.
It was a big dopamine hit of gambling all at once, which like I think Riot has figured out. Some people like playing the game like that, which. I don't know how I feel about that. It's like, okay, you have this one trait that's now just so like it's so incredibly game warping. And it's kind of similar to Merc. So like you hit 2-1 Fortune, like you were probably, unless you had a garbage cash, you were probably winning the game. But at least with Mercs now, like 99% of the time you hit 2-1 Mercs, you're winning the game. With Fortune then, it was probably like 95. Like you had the possibility of just getting TGs and that was it, and that cash was garbage. But You
Shoutouts
had
to Dax at EU regionals.
you had 7 loss. The 7 loss was basically the god cash. It was like the sweet spot because you could get there was a cash option which was a 5 cost and 2 Nikos, or like two 5 costs and 2 Nikos or something like that. So you could hit Samira too when Samira was a 5 cost carry and was batshit insane as a 2 cost 5-star carry. You could see that on 3-3.
Yep.
If you got the god cash. And you would be like 50 HP and just win the game from 50 HP. It's not like Mercs now where you're like, oh, you try to dip down to 20-ish and like just to be safe. No, you would cash at 50. Mm-hmm. And like whether the cash is bad or good, like you probably win the game anyway. So.
And like the thing about Fortune, I feel like for Fortune, right, it took a while for people to sort of catch on that Fortune was like this busted trade. Like absolutely just like it kept on ramping up because Fortune was there from like the beginning of set 4, and not too many people played Fortune. Like not a lot of people played Fortune at the beginning of set 4, right? But like the longer this, I think they might have buffed it a little bit as the set went on, but like the longer it went on, and like the longer that, you know, going into 4.5, like going from 4 to even at the end of 4, people were starting to realize this Fortune thing is kind of like pretty good. And then 4.5 came around, and then it was even more like, holy shit, you know, Fortune. And like regionals, you saw a lot of Fortune. At Worlds, you saw a lot of Fortune. Like everybody was playing Fortune like when they could get it. And that's the thing, because like, you know, Fortune apologists, this is how I like to refer to them, they'll tell you that playing Fortune was a skill. You know, you had to be skilled in order to pivot a Fortune board into like an actual board. No, the skill was deciding to play Fortune whenever you got it. That was the skill. Because like it's not hard to pivot a Fortune board. I'll tell you, I told everyone this. Fortune, it's not hard to. The only hard parts about Fortune is playing it and then not being too greedy on your cash out. Because if you're too greedy, that's when you die. But you shouldn't, as long as you're not greedy, cashing out on Fortune and pivoting your board is like the easiest shit of all time. Like, just look at Mercs right now. It's very similar. It's very similar. As long as you're not too greedy with Mercs, you get your 7 loss, you get your 8 loss or whatever, you're at 30 health, you're probably fine. You're probably, you know, top 4ing for free. It's when you decide to go for the big stuff and you kind of wait and the whole lobby is spiked and you're like, well, this was a mistake. But like that's more of a, you know, turn brain off to the extreme. But
it rewards you for not playing the game.
Yeah,
and I think it speaks to how much you could get from Fortune with like not quite enough risk. Because like once you hit like the 7-8 lost caches, like those were already good enough to win you the game from there pretty much automatically for the most part.
People were playing 3-star Asol, they were playing 2-star Swain, they were playing fucking 2-star Samira. I know my boy Pie Hat with the 3-star Samira Fortune cash out. The fucking Pot Bull hit fucking Asol 3 every other game on day 2 at Worlds playing Fortune. Like it was so consistent and it was so easy to play that if you didn't decide to play it, I didn't play any Fortune, by the way, that tournament. I did not play any. I just wanted
chatting.
Neither did jaywalking. So you know it wasn't that broken. It's still pretty busted though.
Just annoying, right?
It's just that like it's annoying because like, oh, I did play Fortune one game actually. I'll tell you about this game. It was this game.
Cringe play.
It was the game.
I did.
I forget who was the other Korean player.
SCSC?
It was either 8 lanes or SCSC. One of them straight up just open forted on like 2-5. No, on 2-6. They were like, they had no lose streak. They had like no reason to open for it. And I was in their rotation and just like, I'm gonna grief myself. And they went 8 being because they decided to open fort, and then I went like 7th or 6th or some shit because they broke my fortune streak. It was the dumbest. Like the one time I played fortune, this fucking moron comes over here and is like, no, I'll grieve you for no reason. But yeah, other than that, like it's free. It's so free.
Yeah, and you had set 4 was when I think people like started rolling for like fortune. Like set 3, as far as I can remember, people weren't really rolling for space pirates because it wasn't really, well, it might have been worth it, but we didn't have a concept of that yet because we were worse at the game. Let's be honest. But set 4 was, people were like, oh, let's actively roll for fortune.
Yeah, and it's like you basically open for carousel. Get whatever the fortune unit you're missing off of like usually the 3 costs, right? You go for the 3 cost, and then you might be missing like an Annie or a Kench, and then people had these odds. People had the odds. They were like, well, how much gold can I be to be expected to hit like an Annie or a Kench if you need one of like either of those two, and they would like roll the gold, hit fortune. Like 2-5 fortune was really easy, and then you'd hit it, you'd lose 7 rounds, you cash out, you get a free top 2.
Yep.
Roll up with your 2-star Swain, 3-star Acel, and be like, "What up? You guys playing the game for me?"
I think it really compounded with Chosen as well, because you could just see 3-star 4 costs. Like you could probably see him on stage 3, to be honest.
Yeah.
With Nico. Yeah.
I'll say though, kind of the flip side, I think set 4 with fortune is also when there were some players that started to really get known for being like good at those econ traits, if that's even a thing. But like Setsuko, I think is the name that stuck out to me. Like if I saw him have fortune, I don't care when he cashes out, even if he cashes at 4 or 5, he's winning the game. That's where some of the skill from fortune actually came in, like being able, like recognizing when to like, I'm hard forcing this shit. Also, like playing out of a griefed streak, like that is actually where some of the skill of the econ
playing out
comes
of
from.
Streak
Yeah,
is like a lot more difficult than the straight up lost streak. The straight up lost streak takes no skill.
No.
It's
There's like
no
there's some skill in like saving HP.
Especially.
There's some skill in saving HP, but that's skill and just the game in general. That's not specific to fortune at all. But like Setsuko, I'd see him get his cash griefed on like 4 loss, and he would still win the lobby from there. And just like, holy shit, this guy is really good at converting like this little bit of an advantage he got into just the most capped shit ever. And that is where some of the skill comes in. I think like in how it influences competitive, like you have these players who are genuinely good at the econ traits, and we look at like I also think about like the lab partners tourney where Setsuko was playing quite a bit of mercs, and he was smashing with mercs. And then day 2 finals, Soju got this insane merc cash out, and he in press event still went 4th that game because his like he just couldn't hit a good board coming out of his cash.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I also played Mercs one of those games, and I hit 3-star Urgot, and I lost a 2-star Cho'Gath.
It's not that there's
bored, unfortunately.
It's not that there's literally no skill in these traits, but there is, like, the skill floor is raised for sure. There is still a pretty high skill ceiling. But like hitting 2-1 fortune, hitting 2-1 mercs, the skill floor just gets raised up so much. And that's part of the issue with having these econ traits in the game, but also like Riot, I think, especially coming off fortune and seeing like how well received quote unquote fortune was, like there's going to be one of these every set.
It's fun. It is fun casually.
It is fun. That's the thing. Yeah, like it is a big fucking dopamine rush when you get your cash.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think no one can say that. We're gonna talk in a second here about the other kind of. There's 2 sides to econ traits right now, and the other one started in set 5. We'll talk about that in 2 seconds here. But yeah, I feel like this was when they started to realize that having something like that in the set makes it so that, particularly casually,
Casuals are like,
It's
oh
so
my
fun. It's
God.
so
They're
fun.
YouTube video farmers. They're
Yeah.
YouTube video farmers. Oh my God, I hit 3-star, blah, 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 blah. You won't believe, OMG. Like, and then
And
open face.
yeah,
thumbnail.
no shade to anyone who enjoys that kind of trait though, because I mean, if I see Merc, and I mean, obviously I see Merc in 2, I'm excited because I'll probably win the game. But like, I'm just excited because fuck yeah, I get a big dopamine rush this game,
Yeah.
and that's part of the fun of TFT. So
I remember at the end of set 4, I was like doing an interview, and I was like, I just hope that it might have been on Teamfight Talk Show. I was like, I hate Fortune. I hope that they like go in the other direction, which they didn't. In fact,
Nope,
they went in
absolutely
the worst
not.
direction. But like I was like, man, this trade takes like minimal skill for like for a lot of cases, and I was like, it just feels weird to have like this trait that guarantees you like a top 4 from like 2-1. If there's something that tells you, if there's something where you can be like, it's 2-1, I get free LP. That's like from like a competitive standpoint, that's kind of a problem.
Metabolic accelerator.
Yeah,
That's its own
I
separate
skipped
issue.
metabolic.
Like, oh my
Today. I
god.
skipped metabolic to take a sniper emblem, and I got first. Yes.
Sheesh. So the other side of the coin that we're going to talk about, so the funny thing is that set 4 and set 5 econ traits are now both basically to a degree, both in set 6. So set 5 introduced Draconic, and what Draconic did was it'll hatch you little lads and lasses that you can see their self evolve. Yeah, your little Udyrs, your little Zyras. Oh, Ash action. um, so they moved away from like the high roll. I think you want to just go on a super big loss streak and then cash out this big dopamine hit, and they made it into every single round you have this trade and you get an egg. You can even high roll an egg, right? Yeah,
You nurture these little eggs, wait for them to
yeah,
hatch.
they'll carry you eventually, right?
Somebody will come in chat and be like, is it worth it to sell the small eggs? And you'll have to be like, no, it's never worth it. Because it only gives you 1 gold.
There were points where actually selling the 1-turn eggs was not correct, but you could break even.
You might be able to do it, but like
it was if selling I think if selling a 1-turn egg made you econ, it might have been worth it, but realistically it was like never sell an egg unless you need it for bench space.
Yeah. So now Yordles, you can get one cost, 2 costs, 3 costs, right? So you can get 1 to 3 gold any given turn. And Draconic was basically the same thing. You could get bigger eggs that gave you. So they took more turns to hatch. You wouldn't get one every turn.
You got more than one from like the bigger ones usually. Like 2 to 3 turn to 4 turn. You usually got 2. Sometimes you get like set Udyr. You might get like an Ash, something like that.
And sometimes you get a 5-turn egg that would hatch you a Heimer on level 7, and then you'd win the game.
Yeah. You have your 5-turn egg really early, and you're like, ah, shit. It'd be like 3-2, and you're like, do I have enough gold to go 7 right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one? You do it, you don't hit the Heimer, and you're like,
yeah. And honestly, I will say that kind of dopamine hit of seeing the 4-turn egg from Draconic 3 or like the 4/5 from 5 Draconic egg hatch, that dopamine hit was actually kind of fun because there was a build up.
Yeah,
like you saw the egg on your bench. You're like, oh my god, 4-turn egg. Okay, give me 4 turns. Okay, it's about to hatch. Okay, now let's see what it is. It wasn't like you knew when it was gonna hatch and there was a build up, which was its own kind of fun, but it went from like, oh, this giant cash out all at once to like a more consistent over the course of the game. As long as you have it in, you just get more gold and you have a possibility at still hitting a jackpot.
And it definitely also lead more towards like playing reroll, right? Because that's more of the, what it was going for, because you're farming only Draconic units, you're gonna 3-star them if you stick to it, right? And those Draconic units at various points in the set were like pretty good.
Yeah.
Like
Zyra
Set-
reroll was
set
good
reroll,
for a
too.
good chunk of set 5.
Yeah,
And like
set reroll was great.
when Draconic was used for
bit.
actually rerolling, like it's fine. And they did, in all fairness, they did balance the power of the 3 stars around that for the most part.
Yeah.
Well, like set 3 at its peak was fucking busted, and you could hit it on stage 3, and you should not be able to do that. But like Zyra 3 was more or less balanced around being like you hit it more or less for free. Like you are expecting to hit Zyra 3 specifically, not just Zyra 2.
Mhm.
So like when the Econ trait was treated as a reroll trait, it wasn't like the most toxic thing ever. I think it was when later in the set, like
when they brought in Galio, and
yeah,
they didn't take out any
Galio
Draconic.
and 5 Draconic, but then when the 3 stars got nerfed enough, they weren't really worth going for, and then Draconic really became like I'm using this as an Econ trait to go 4-2 and roll for my 5 costs. Then it got pre-sketched, and like Hunter very famously was like one tricking Draconic at different points. Would have Heimer on 4-2 a lot of games.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's and you would also having like the big jackpot of like this huge bailout, which that huge bailout, fun fact, almost single-handedly sent Spencer to Worlds. And we can talk about that, like how Draconic, like it had its impact on competitive in North America, like and it does also kind of play into how the skill ceiling of Draconic still existed, just the skill floor got raised. And for those of you who don't know, the last game of set 5 regionals, Spencer looked like he was going hard 8th, but had a 5 Draconic egg on bench. It hatched, got like double Nikos and 5 item components. He actually double Nico'd Garen. He double Nico'd Garen, which I do think is the like slight skills part of him playing Draconic that game. Like, not a lot of people would recognize Garen, like double Nicoing the Garen is my out here. He double Nico'd the Garen, and I feel like I vaguely remember he went first that game, right?
I
Let me
don't
double check.
remember.
Let me
Potentially.
double check. I want my information right here. Finals. I'm checking Wikipedia. He went second, but that was right because Robin went 1-1-1 lag 1-1.
Oh, right, yeah. That was that one.
The second was enough to win him tiebreaker over Pocky, which like couple plugs here. Gangly just released a video on who he thinks is the best tournament player in the server. Spoiler, he picked Spencer, and I agree with it. I do think like it also excellently made video. Like,
yeah, it was a great video.
Shameless plug for our boy
good.
Gangly. Like, it's such a good video. It's so
Please
well
check it
done.
out.
It's basically perfect. And I do agree that like Spencer's the most complete and the best tournament player in the server. But like, he displayed a little bit of skill playing out of that 5-turn Draconic egg. But Pocky also got third with a Vel'Koz 1. And he lost the tiebreaker to go to Worlds. Like, Pocky played out of his mind that day. If Pocky hadn't played Sin Callista, he would have gone to Worlds instead of Spencer.
Yeah, what was that Sin Callista?
Don't sleep on Sin Callista.
The Sin Callista was not good, by the way.
Anyways, yeah,
So-
I mean, so Draconic was. I think the thing about Econ traits is that in set 4 and 5 they had lasting impacts on the competitive scene, right? Like we've seen them affect the competitive scene, not necessarily in like a bad way, right? Just they
Set
are
4
traits
probably
that
a bad way.
Set 4 probably a bad way.
How many people are fortunate at Worlds
They didn't have like they didn't warp the competitive scene,
They affected,
but it
yeah.
had its impact.
Yes,
which,
exactly.
Like,
exactly.
I don't. It's really hard to grapple with. Like you, like, and Spencer more or less opted into playing Draconic, and he got this big fat reward for it that he played well with. But it's hard to grapple with when the alternative of who we could have sent to Worlds is this guy who just played out of his mind without needing Draconic, and played out of his mind from some pretty low roll spots too. So it had its effect, and at the end of the day, was was Spencer deserving of going to Worlds? I don't think anyone's upset that like with the player we sent. Like you look at
Spencer's
set
a great
5.
player.
Look
I
at set
think
5. Like
everyone
I'm
deserves
not
to.
upset at all about Spencer going to Worlds. It's just a bit hard to grapple with the manner in which he ended up going to Worlds, where he got to Worlds. The margin for him was off this econ trait that he got a giant bailout out of.
And like it's just like from a competitive standpoint, it really feels like, you know, what comes out of these types of econ traits, they're not in the player's control really. And that's sort of the thing. Like the thing you kind of opt into playing into this RNG element. So it's not it's like as a competitor, it kind of feels more so like how how can you say it? It still takes skill. Not to say it doesn't take skill to recognize that you can play it, but like once it's in, you're really at the mercy of sort of RNG. And
Yeah.
when that plays a factor into like these like really high stakes competitive situations, it leaves a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth, you know, like
It can be. I think it can be odd as well, or awkward, because we can start talking about 6-6 here as well, because Merc is a thing which it has not had, like, to my knowledge, a great effect on competitive TFT in set 6 so far. I haven't really seen. I don't remember. Was it
the
in,
first patch Merc was in auto top 4.
or was it played a lot in Piltover Cup? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was played a lot, like a
Was
lot,
it?
a lot.
I didn't have like any of my lobbies,
Yeah,
but
and
I
Piltover
was
Cup,
lucky, I guess.
my lobby, straight up, there were like several players just spam
Oh
playing.
right, I do remember. What was it? Who was the player who in your lobby got like was Merc like every game?
Started K. No,
They were probably off on ladder as well.
no, yeah, they're on ladder.
They definitely hit rank 1 after that. I feel so bad.
Kagero.
Yes, Kagros.
Oh yeah, Kagro.
They
Yeah.
were they were like 20 out of 20 Merc in turn, and then that day, right? They just had Merc every game or
They
something.
straight up like 1-1-1-1-1.
Yeah. So I guess yeah, take that. It has had
Like,
large
it was
effects.
really, really, really busted. Like,
Yeah,
and you know, right now it's still pretty broken,
it's pretty
if you
broken.
get it early.
Yeah.
But there is like you get a GP. It's not just like I get a GP, I'll lose streak, farm some gold. It was straight up, I'll lose a couple rounds. The moment I hit my cash out, I'm not losing a single round after that because GP is that strong of a unit, and it's like you get to farm so much gold with him, and if you lose, whatever, I'm going back into Mercs, I'll get some more gold. I'll dip back into the Merc chest and get some more gold with GP, you know? It was like that was like the first patch of the set. It's like, you know, strong GP, strong MF.
Yeah. But I think part of that is we're getting into the issue of the econ traits this set, which is that there's 2 of them.
Yes.
Which personally I think is like the econ. I have issues. I think all of us in this call have issues with econ traits in general, but we kind of recognize they're not going away. Like Riot has kind of recognized there are players who like the econ traits, who like that dopamine rush, and so they're just gonna be in the game. Kitty. Sorry. This cat is just staring up at me. Hi, she's coming back. Oh my god, hi.
Oh, I see her hand popping up.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay, we can turn the cat cam back on.
Cat cam's back on. Anyway, but the problem is there's 2 of them in the game, which is we already had issues of like, players are hitting so many like 3-star 4 costs and these insane boards every game because there's so much gold in the game. Now there's even more gold in the game because the chances. Oh, she's on my keyboard. Nope. But now you're hitting Yordles or Mercs on stage 2 like 90% of your games if you're actively looking for them. So and that's part of what created the 4-2 meta of last patch.
Because everybody would have like infinite gold.
You'd
and
have
if you weren't streaking and you weren't playing an econ trade, here's like if you win streak, you can sort of keep up pace. If you low roll the game and you're like not playing Yordles or if you're not playing Mercs, everybody else that's quote unquote low rolling is farming like infinite gold.
Yeah. And it's not even so much like
Every
3-star 4 costs now, it's just everyone has 2-star 5 costs. And that and depending on the lobby, if you don't have a 2-star 5 cost, you just can't play the game. Which is a huge issue because like the chances of hitting a 2-star 5 cost are not great on 8 unless you have 1,000,000 gold. Even then it's not amazing, but then like you high roll a little, you hit your 2-star 5 cost, you're good to go. But there's so much gold. There's 2 econ traits in the game, and one of them isn't even like it's not even like dopamine rush. It's just pure. Oh, here's a free gold.
Gold.
Just give me some gold every turn. My hot take is that I think, like, well, 1 needs to go in 6.5, 100%. Like they need to get rid of either Yordles or Mercs. I think it makes a little more sense for them to get rid of Yordles because it's not the dopamine rush trait. It's just a couple. It's just a couple free gold. There's no way they take out Mercs. It's also
too many YouTube videos with Mercs.
Exactly. It's also ridiculously easy to hit Yordles. It's 2 1 costs and a 2 cost.
Yeah, and
is the
2
bare
of
minimum
cost, and like it's very easy.
It's ridiculously easy.
Too. There's 6 Yordle units. You're gonna hit 3 of them.
Exactly, and like I think Pi Ryrer has like done the math, and by 4-2, Yordles is an extra like 40 gold.
Holy,
yeah,
that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of extra money. Like you basically get the gap from you get 90% of the gap from level 7 to 8 just off having this one trait in.
And the units aren't even bad. I mean, they're not great, but like you can play Vex.
You can win streak with Yordles
really well.
You can straight up win streak with Yordles. Like it's not hard.
Yordles, like, you can put Triss. Triss is a very good carry in the mid game. Heimerdinger properly itemized.
Yeah, and then you just have that Arcanist core with a Lulu, and then have like another items on different Arcanists, like a Malzahar, and you're being chilling.
There's plenty of ways to like keep health up with Yordles, but you're also farming gold, and you don't need to lose. And
I'm gonna say I think what it is I think they take one out. If they take one out, it's going to be it's gonna be Yordles, and it's because I think overall, like looking at TFT is not just like a competitive experience and just like how much fun like as a game, right? Which it is a game. I think Merc is good for the game, to be honest. I think it makes it like it brings people back, makes exciting content. It's fun, it's exciting. In a competitive environment, it is not. He's as TFT as an esport does not want Merc in the game. TFT as a game loves Merc in the game. I don't think Yordle's nearly as exciting. Like some people are like, oh shit, I want to Yordle one trick, and that that's fun, but not. There's like a very small percentage of the player base that's like that compared to the percentage of the player base that sees Merc on 2-1. Like... that sees Merc 2-1 is like, this is gonna be a fun ass game of TFT.
And it would be different if Yordle reroll was like viable. Which it's slightly viable now, but it's not a good comp, really. It's not a good comp in the way any of the Draconic rerolls ever were. So like
you can't really force it and be like
the intended use of Yordles is to like it gives you units. It's not the intended use. If the intended use of Yordles was to just straight up give you gold, it'd give you gold. But the intended use of Yordles is that it gives you the units in order to let you potentially 3-star them or 2-star them to push extra levels or whatever. The purpose is it gives units. But people aren't using it like that.
It's using it as a gold farm.
The wide majority of the player base right now, it's just a gold farm when that's not the intended purpose. And I think that's part of why it's going to be the one that goes. Because like Merc has its intended purpose of like giant cash into dopamine rush. Like players love that. The devs love having that in the game. And it is fulfilling its intended purpose. Yordles is too much on top of that, is not particularly exciting, and is not fulfilling its intended purpose. It needs to go.
Yeah, and like the thing about Yordles, if you really think about them, like how should I say it? It's sort of as if the units synergize really like if you look at the traits on all of the Yordle units, and you compare them to like the Draconic units, it's night and day, right? Draconic was straight up, you get one brawler, you get one skirmisher, you get one ranger, and you get a sork, right? Like,
Or Draconic units, let's go.
what synergies did those units have? They don't fit together at all, you know? Like, what in the hell? Like, how do I fit a sork with like this ranger? Like, it's very, and that's the thing, right? Like the units can't be strong. Like the units weren't that strong together. But the thing about Yordles, one, they have a lot of cross synergies. You have a unit like Ziggs that has like, the thing is like, people don't care about 3-star. Like when people talk about 3-star Ziggs, it's legitimately just, I get to feed this fucker to Tom Kench and get 10 billion AP. That's the great part about 3-star Ziggs. It's not like, I'm not excited to hit 3-star Ziggs to carry him. You know, like the unit isn't good. Like, but like you're gonna 3-star him most of the, like if you're playing Yordle reroll, you're 3-starring him for sure. But it sort of feels like, you know, you don't really want to go for the 3-star units for this, like outside of Heimerdinger, I guess Vex when she's good, and maybe Trist if you're playing
Trist 3 is
Trist
not bad
reroll.
at all. Trist 3 and Lulu 3 can do quite a bit of work, but even like Ziggs 3, Poppy 3, and now especially when Ziggs and Poppy are like, they already were the most common unit for you to get now by far. Like you're most of the time you're getting a 1 cost. So like through the intended purpose of this trait, we would expect like, okay, we want to use this trait to go for 3-star Poppy, for 3-star Ziggs. Ziggs just as a unit is trash. Poppy, 3-star Poppy falls off a cliff around like stage 4, stage 5. And like there's no difference between her and 2-star Poppy. Also, because I realized I might have been from watching Socks, but Last Whisper cucks her damage so hard because her damage is just straight up based off her armor. Her armor gets shredded, her damage goes down by 85% or whatever the number on Last Whisper is.
And like, when is the last time you've seen a Vhagar on ladder? You know, I've hit Vhagar recently, I just want to say. But like, when is like the last time you've seen, like, it might happen 1 in 20 games.
He's also trash. Like
I don't think
watched
he's that bad. He's
watched
pretty bad,
well, I watched Robin I watched Robin play 6 Yordles because I was in his game and then went 7th because I misplayed and then was and then watched him after. But he was saying like, I'm not playing Veigar. Chat was begging for him to play Veigar, and he did not want to play Veigar because
you can't play Veigar 1 because that's not a unit. Veigar 2, maybe if you're level 8 and you have a slot, but you can't itemize him.
Yeah. You need Veigar to be good needs to be itemized, but by the time you get to itemized Veigar, at a point where you can play Veigar, you don't have items to spare for him. If you were to play AP on him, that AP is already stuck on Heimer or Ziggs. Unless you have a remover, you have to sell that unit, get the items onto Veigar, but now you lose 6 Yordle, which is kind of the point.
Yordle, and you don't get to farm anymore.
Okay, you know what they need to do? Is they need to make Veigar spawn with a Reforger. Or
not
Reforger, a remover.
Like a remover.
Yeah, when Veigar pops up, you just get a remover.
I would love that. I would absolutely.
That'd be such a better. It'd be so much better.
Yeah,
but it's just like, you know, when the set started with Yordles, that I was really excited when I saw Yordles just because of Veigar. I was like, oh my god,
it's so cool!
It's so cool. I get to farm Veigars, and it's like, well, no. He's bad, the units are bad, you're rerolling this garbage, and it's all bad everywhere. So, like, why?
There's no real dopamine hit. Like, the dopamine hit of, oh my god, I finally get to see a Veigar, and then you see the Veigar, and you're like, the dopamine's gone.
But that was, like, the cool part about it, right? When you saw it first, like, and you kind of wish that that's the way that Yordle, like, the direction that Yordles take. Right now, they're just like, I'm playing these units, I'm gonna have 50 gold to roll with on 4-2. Haha, I'm rich. And it's like, one, it's like, it introduces too much money too much gold into the game in my opinion. It's just like it's too
Yeah.
free, it's too free. These Yordle units aren't even being appreciated. They're just like fucking cows. You're milking them for more Yordles to sell on the market, and then once you're rich, you forget all about them.
Don't
You
tell
kill it
PETA.
for the beef. You feed it to
Yeah.
Tom. You legitimately just feed them to Tom Kench. That's what you do with the Yordles. They're legit. They're just rat cows. They're just little rat cows running around on your board making you
Someone
money.
quote it. Someone quote it. They are essentially rat cows. Yeah. Um, I feel like, and especially if you like your rich streak Yordle, you can be like level 8, 50 gold on 4-1, and it's just like it can be insane.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's just so much gold to the game, and the game doesn't necessarily get better with more gold introduced. It has to be, I think, a really, really solid patch that's very balanced for it to get the game to get better because there's more gold in the game. Because it does exacerbate issues, right? Because you have more gold, you have more options. It means if you have like if a set just is not in a great state balance wise, and like it's just this big shit show, it can be. Yeah, I think the more gold in a game, generally the more exacerbated the problems get. And I mean that's a pretty generic statement, and maybe
And
not always true, but
Because
the thing is, like, when you have a trait like that does generate that much gold, it also sort of detracts from like a lot of the variety, a lot of the different
Mhm.
play styles that you can sort of use in the game. Like things like 1 cost reroll or 2 cost reroll. Really, the value starts to go down when like you have these people that go level 8, hit their 5 cost upgrades for free, hit their 3-star 4 costs for free, and you're out here with no gold generation with like a 2-star, like a 3-star 2 cost, and you're like, well, I'm just gonna lose to Kaisa 2 anyways, or like this Tom
yeah,
Kench is gonna come over here and eat my Twitch 3, and it's like, well, I just gave him free items.
yeah,
It's really like
we need to talk
difficult to
about
deal
Tom.
with.
We need to talk
yeah.
about Thomas.
Also, when the amount of gold in the game gets raised, the standard of what a good board is raises. So, and at that point, it becomes how do I cap out my board compared to before, which like hitting a standard board of like, okay, I play around my 2-star 4 cost. I have some good units around it, maybe a 5 cost or 2 at 1 star. Okay, cool. That was a solid standard board in set 5. Now that just doesn't fly. The standard of what a good board is raises, and because that standard has raised, it becomes more playing around 5 costs or playing around insanely capped boards rather than hitting just a good baseline and playing for a consistent board every game. And when the standard of like consistent good board raises, the options of what consistent good board is, it it shrinks. Like you can't play around 3-star 1 costs as much because the baseline for them as a good board. Oh, that's not the baseline anymore. The baseline has raised. 3-star 1 costs can't keep up anymore. 3-star 2 costs even to some extent, unless you hit a million of them. Even then, they can still fall behind. So it raises, and it raises also the tempo because people are hitting these insane capped boards earlier. It raises the tempo, it raises the standard of what your board needs to be. And if you aren't playing the econ traits, then you play at the previous standard, but the previous standard just doesn't cut it anymore.
Yeah, I think the problem comes in when so I do this a lot. We're gonna do it again. Close your eyes and imagine. It's 2-1. All right, this is your stage 2. All right, you lose. You lose 2-1. You're like, okay, that's fine. 2-2, you win. 2-3, you win. 2-5, oh, oops, I lost. 2-6, oh, I lost again. Now, you didn't have Yordle in this whole time. You scout, so you're level 5, 10 gold. You need like an upgraded unit, and then you scout, and there's
Everybody's up 10 gold
like
on
30
you with
gold
Yordles
upgraded
on their board. No, it's actually like 20 gold sometimes.
It's it just gets fucked so quickly. Like if you don't hit one of these econ traits early and it's a lobby that's like, all playing around this econ trait. This was very exacerbated last patch. Um But like, if you didn't have an econ train on your board, you just fell behind. So you could even be win streaking and like fall behind potentially. And not generally, if you're win streaking, you're fine because you have so much more HP than everyone else.
Yeah.
But it was so
If
hard to
you're
get a
like
first.
mid streaking, you know, you're sort of what I like to describe as like you manage to get like a 4 streak at some point and then you lose some rounds and you're like maybe 70 HP going into round 4, but you don't have the econ trace in, you're poor.
You're poor. You're
You're
real
done.
poor.
And the with the econ traits playing into lose streaking, it means you already. I mean, the game is designed econ a little bit around streaking in general because that's how you generate the most econ possible. But when you're lose streaking with Yordles in, it just inflates how much gold you get because you can guarantee a 5 loss. You can once you hit Yordles, like that's a guaranteed at least 1 gold each turn. And part of the downside of lose streaking versus win streaking is it's not just you are sacrificing health, you are also sacrificing gold to opt into a 5 loss versus trying for a 5 win. A 5 win in stage 2 gets you 15 gold because of gold from wins and the streak gold plus on neutrals. A 5 loss streak is 10 gold. You are sacrificing, if you want to guarantee a 5 loss versus trying to go for a 5 win, you are sacrificing 5 gold and however much health. Now, let's say, for example, you have in Yordles, you get at least 1 gold per turn. You are suddenly breaking even at least with the 5 win, possibly
but you have cheaper units.
8 cheaper units, and it's not just I got 5 extra gold from Yordles. That 5 extra gold also lets you make some interest checkpoints you wouldn't have earlier. So maybe now it's 6 gold. You've already surpassed the 5 win streaker. Plus the possibility of getting a 2 or 3 cost from Yordles. If the bare minimum low roll Yordles is dead even in gold with 5 win. Any kind of possibility beyond that, you get a single 2 cost, you are now a gold up on the win streaker. You got lucky, quote unquote, with a interest checkpoint that you made that a 5 win streaker couldn't because their board is more expensive. That's another gold. You now have more money than a win streaker. That's not how this is supposed to work. You are supposed every set up until now, without Draconic eggs hatching, which that win streak, lose streak, it didn't matter with the eggs hatching, and you could build a win streak Draconic board. No matter with Yordles in on a loss streak, you have more gold 99.9% of games than a win streaker. That downside of you get a bunch of gold generated. You have more gold generated than people who aren't streaking as much, but you have less gold than a 5 win streaker. That downside no longer exists. You have more gold than a win streaker now. So your only penalty is the health, and the health doesn't matter once you hit your insanely capped board. Like this is the famous Keen saying, 1 HP is infinite HP. If you are at 1 HP and you hit a stronger board than the rest of the lobby, and you're the strongest person in the rest of the lobby, that 1 HP is infinite HP. You win the game from there. So once the econ penalty of loss streaking versus win streak doesn't exist anymore, then there's not as much downside to playing for loss streak and for playing for loss streak every game. And here's the thing, you can play for loss streak every game if you opt into it. You cannot play for win streak every single game. It's not like every game you're going to hit a board that's good enough to 5 win. But you can guarantee a 5 loss more or less every single game. If you just play like 1-star Poppy, 1-star Lulu, 1-star Ziggs, you're 90. Unless you're playing in China where they're just hard open and fuck Yordles. But even then, they're
right now.
I assume they're just playing Yordles.
China's loved open forwarding forever.
They do,
but
yeah.
you can guarantee a 5 loss 99.9% of the games if you want to. So your only downside you're opting into now is a health penalty. That's it. There's no also gold penalty.
Yeah, it also reduces some of this decision making, even if you're not lose streaking. Things like, do I choose to level on 2-3? It's a lot easier if you're playing Yordles because you're like, well, I'll just level anyways because I make econ regardless.
Win streaking takes so much more skill than loss streaking. Like it's not to say there's no skill in loss streaking because if you can, there's skill in recognizing, okay, who in this lobby is piss weak that I need to hard open for. Oh, I don't
Maybe
need to hard.
HP is.
I don't need to hard open. How do I save HP? It's playing around your the skill in lose streaking is playing around your HP, not so much the skill in win streaking of how the fuck do I maintain this win streak. Sometimes you're gifted like an insane 3-star or 3-cost upgrade early that makes it way easier, but you still have to not fuck up. Like if you fuck up your positioning, if you don't slam any items, if you slam bad items, there's so much more skill in maintaining a win streak and playing from ahead, at least within the context of win streaking versus lose streaking, that just being rewarded for forcing a loss streak more so than you ever will be for forcing a win streak, just that it doesn't make sense that skill in win streaking suddenly doesn't matter. That's my tangent. That's my tangent. Not even tangent.
Not play the game for like a fourth of it, basically. You know.
Yeah.
And should that be encouraged?
And I think like there are some games where like opting into that loss streak is fine. Like sometimes you just don't have an opener and you're deciding, okay, this game I'm going to opt into just open 4-5 loss and see where we go from there. Like it's fine to have that option in the game of I'm going to force a lose streak, but again, you shouldn't be rewarded with more gold than win streaking for that.
Yep. Agreed. I do. So with the loss streak and getting infinite gold thing, again, last patch we saw a loss streak into 4-2 with like 50 gold on 8. And there's one unit that you could hit that if you hit it kind of just
you win.
I mean, yeah.
There are a lot of units where you hit, you win for like
mostly this one was the biggest offender. IMO. Yes, more than Kaisa. Thomas Kench still is. Thomas Kench is what isn't he really is probably easier to answer. He's
your carry tank. What is that? What is the league saying? No. They used it to refer to who did they talk about?
We like the copy pasta.
League carry tank.
He does everything. If you hit him, he makes you money. He gives you items. Like we're get to start wrapping up pretty soon here where we are, getting further on time. But Thomas Kench is by far the most working unit in the set. He exacerbates like every issue with an Econ trait, but he's like a 5-cost.
He's one unit.
He's like Bard on steroids.
He's a 5-cost that kills units, front lines, eats unit.
Gives you
gives you items.
My CC frontline damage.
My rate is that TK in a nutshell is fun, but he is going to be. He's never going to be balanceable. Like maybe if they remove Yordles in set 6.5 and there's less gold in the game and there's less people hitting TK on like 4-1, 4-2, then sure. I mean, we had issues with Kayn in set 4. For those that don't remember, Kayn was basically an assassin, but after 3 turns, you could evolve him into blue or red Kayn, and that's when he really got strong.
That was so cool.
But 4-1, the difference between 4-1 and 5-1 Kayn was insane, because you got the evolution around 4-5 on a 4-1 Kayn, and that put you so much farther ahead of the lobby than my baseline 5-1 Kayn. But like we complained about it. But it wasn't as much of an issue because in order to see 4-1 Kayn, you had to 1% it.
Have you ever hit a 3-2 Tom Kench?
Yeah, like 4-2 Kayn goes off. It was off of 1% because you don't usually go level 8 on 4-2 unless you're win streaking. At that point, you didn't have the gold to go 4-2 level 8 unless you were win streaking in set 4. So at that point, like you hit the 4-2 Kayn on the 5%. I mean, sure. Congrats, just snowball even harder. That's not an issue. When you're lose streaking this hard and can get a Kench on 4-2 so consistently, and when this unit gets exponentially better the earlier you hit him.
Yeah.
So when there's so much more gold in the game that allows you to hit this unit early so much more consistently, that becomes a problem. The nerf that Kench took this patch is so fake because the problem with the unit, he's not broken because of his stats. He's broken because of his design. So
Yeah.
his design, once you hit him on 4-2 and you have a bigger chance of hitting him on 4-2, you have a higher chance of just feeding him early, getting the ball rolling early, or having him farm you items. You get an extra, like, if you get an extra 3 components and 10 gold around by the end of stage 4, that might be a low roll. That's still nuts. That gets you snowballing from there. You can win the game off a Kench 1. That's an issue when you can consistently hit this exponentially snowball unit. The exponentially snowball unit part of his design, I mean, I think it's flawed.
It's cool. It is cool.
It is cool. I think it's flawed. I think it will always be flawed from a balance perspective. But
it's just like right now it's a bit too easy.
It's so easy
not like
to
a 1 in 20 games.
Early.
It's more like a 1 in 4 maybe.
I feel like I see last patch I saw a Kench on 4-2 at least every other game, maybe more often than that.
Yeah.
Like, and then when you tie him in with like Mercs, when you already have this like big cash out sort of like, and then you put in like a really good unit with Mercs, it's sort of like, well, top 4 for you, good sir. Top 1 even. Top 1 for you, good sir.
I think they could definitely. I think they can make it more balanced. They're trying not to touch the econ / like resource gathering side of him. I think you can definitely make him. You can either say like he can only give you one component around, like he can only eat like get stuff from one unit around, right? So you get like one component / like one big chunk of gold around or something like that, and then he'd be. I mean, even if he less broken, I think he'd maybe not be. It's tough, right? Because you have to make him like still fun to play and good.
Yeah.
While balancing that,
What if they scaled the stats you get from feeding him by stage? So like if you manage to snag a 1% Kench on stage 3, feeding him like he gets a little bit of stats but not much. Stage 4, he gets a little bit more but still not a lot. Stage 5, you get the stage 5 Kench, then like the stats become like around normal.
One thing maybe is that it should be somewhat of an investment, I feel like the stats that you get from Kench, I'll just buy this random unit in shop that I still make Econ, I'll feed the Kench, boom, free stats. One of the cool things about Kench is that you can feed him upgraded units, you get a lot. Maybe they want to lean more towards that and say like, okay, if you want your Kench to really, really be strong, you gotta feed him the good stuff.
That's true.
You gotta
high quality food, lots of protein.
Food. None of that like random garbage you get from your shop. Yeah, and it might work. It could work. It's definitely. It sort of makes the feeding aspect of him a lot more fun too. You kind of you go out, you try to get these upgrades in your shop, and you try to upgrade. I gotta get this unit upgraded so that I can feed my Kench. Right now, it's just like I'll buy any random garbage. Half of these 3 costs give him AP anyways. I'll just random Vex, sure, why not? Random MF, sure. Gangplank, feed him the Kench. and that's sort of how it is right now, right? It's sort of you feed him whatever, you get whatever, you don't really care, he's gonna carry you anyways. Whereas maybe they can lean more towards the you gotta give him the good stuff for him to really be
popping off,
be frogging off.
Be frogging off. So we do have to start wrapping up here. I guess at the end of the day, econ traits, I mean, they're fun. Right, Mercs is fun. Fortune was fun. Kench is fun. So the question that we can answer here from chat is that so Barbarian asks, everyone always wants extreme balance, but if 5 costs aren't fun, doesn't the set also become stale? And we can apply this to traits as well, right? Like Merc or something like that. And the thing is that a trait doesn't need to be unbalanced. A 5 cost doesn't need to be unbalanced to be fun, right? You could definitely have Kench in a balanced state where like he doesn't give you 13 components there, and that's obviously an overstatement, you know, like 14
Wow.
probably.
You say
I
that?
legitimately farmed 2 fawns off of one guy in 1 round with Tom Kench.
Yeah. He doesn't have to, like, you know, give you a literal, like he doesn't have to turn all your enemies into creep rounds, essentially.
Yeah, 5
But he
costs
can
can
still
be
be
fun.
good.
5 costs can be fun without like generating all this shit. Like, what are some fun 5 costs? Why am I blanking
I
on
mean,
that?
Jinx
I
could be
think-
fun if she weren't garbage, you know?
Yes,
Like, think
that
about
is
how
true.
cool that is. A
I love
unit
all the 5
that
costs, to be honest.
kamikazes into the back line and, like, potentially could kill everyone. Too bad you can't kill anybody right now.
Watching a Victor laser just like one shot a board feels so satisfying. Like he just
Also,
goes pew 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 pew.
Even set 3 Gangplank was kind of it was fucking satisfying. Just
Yeah,
watching
it's real satisfying.
you hit a
Like,
2-star
aim-
Gangplank with good items, and you watch it wipe the board. Also, once you've made the investment of like some of the upgrades to his ult, yeah, that's fun as fuck to watch. Just boom, buy board.
I
There are
think
ways to make 5 costs fun without making them toxic, which I think
What Kench
like
is.
the current state of Kench is toxic. It's a harsh word, but I think it's accurate.
it's
Yeah.
like he's like Lee Sin, and people had their problems with Lee Sin.
Don't remind me of
Lee
Lee
Sin.
Sin. Fuck.
People had but the thing is, like, blue buff Tom Kench, that's Lee Sin.
That's
It's
also fucking
legitimately Lee Sin.
set 4 set. I think is like might be the most fun 5 cost we've ever had. That shit's so cool. He picks this guy up and just fucking body slams him into
And
the
then does
entire enemy
sit-ups.
team. And then he does fucking sit-ups for some reason. That's so much fun. There are ways that units can be fun that aren't toxic.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Tom Kench design, I still really like it. I think it's really fun. It's just like there are things that sort of have to be adjusted. It's not even like it's not even that he should be gutted, right? It should at least allow the other people to feel like they can play the game, not just off of like this one person in the lobby that just gets a Kench on 4-2 and then, you know, gets to shoot to the moon. You know, it should,
Yeah.
There should be like a progression there. You know, it really should feel like a progression instead of just, you know, and just I get a lucky coin flip, and then I get a free top 4. You know, and it's
Yeah.
really it sort of builds into this idea, right? Like off of 2-1, off of creep drops, you shouldn't. You know, round 1 creep drops should not be able to determine if somebody gets to win the game, right? Like, and there have been points throughout TFT where that's actually been, you know, it's been the case when Yasuo and Riven were strong, for example. When you get Merc drop off of creeps, when you get that GP and MF, you're like, well, one of you people is going 8. One of you people, I'm going top 4 right now, and it's sort of like, you know, from like a dopamine standpoint, it's great. You know, if I can sit there at 1-4, hit these draws and be like, ah, yeah, baby, top 4, let's go. You know, that as fun as that is, it's, in my opinion, a bit more fun if you get to win off of like decision making, skill expression. Like from a competitive standpoint, that's really where the, like, you know, fun part kicks in when you can make those decisions.
Hot take, having some dopamine hits like that in the game, like, I mean, sure, it's not how those of us in this call experience fun in the game, but like for a casual player, you gotta have some kind of like dopamine hit like that every once in a while. But it's so often that happens, and yeah, for a lot of competitive players or high level players, the dopamine hits come from outskilling the lobby, the bits of skill expression, keeping a win streak going because you position one unit exactly correctly, when any other way you lose that round, you lose your streak. That at least for me personally, because like I'm such a positioning focused player, like finding a micro positioning that I know won me the round, that's my dopamine hit. Like in set 5.5 Cavaliers, when I microed every unit correctly and won a round by like 2 health, and I know any other positioning doesn't win the round, that's the dopamine hit, because I know I outskilled someone. It's not the game giving me a dopamine hit for free. when I did nothing to deserve it. It's something I did, and for a lot of competitive players, it's the things we do that give us the fun and exciting moments in the game.
Yeah, I think. I think that at the end of the day, it's good to have stuff like that, like Merc in the game, stuff like Fortune in the game, because it makes the game more fun for and because the game isn't obviously just top players, right? But I think they need. I think essentially, while that needs to be in the game, it needs to be in a state where it's not just like the freest top two, like 80% of the time you play it and a like high low library. Like it has to be balanced more. It has to be more punishing to do it. You can't just like say on 2-1 you have 3 mark, and because you want this experience to be really good for the casual players, it's going to make it a really poor experience for the competitive players. Because there's definitely a balance there. There's definitely a balance there. Honestly, they wouldn't do this, but like you could literally just say like if you have 3 merc on your board, you take 1 extra damage every time you lose or something, right? Like it makes it, and like not literally, you probably wouldn't do that, but there has to be more of a balance for sure with these econ traits to make it so that um it's not so free when you know how to pilot it. Because in a game where like no one in like a normal game that everyone's like silver gold level, no one's gonna care if no one's gonna really tell uh that like
Merc
this
got
person hit 2-1
slightly
mark.
nerfed. Oh
Yeah.
snap!
Yeah.
Um. It's
And also,
just yeah.
and
Like
also
that's the kind of thing.
having counterplay to this stuff is vital, because like that's part of
There's
what
very little
makes
counterplay. Somewhere.
that's part of what makes stuff balanced, is having counterplay to it. Having someone hit something like that's standard. I mean, if they hit a 3-star 5 cost, the counterplay is enforcer, but
Well, the counterplay
other than
is
that,
actually hold the 5 cost before they hit it.
yeah,
Right? Like,
Yeah.
but if I have this trait that drops me 3 Nikos,
no counterplay.
haha, nice,
Yeah.
good job, good luck trying to hold 5 of these units out of the pool when you can't even find like 2.
Yeah,
You know,
and I also think about like Kench, and there are ways to counterplay around someone else's Kench, like building a QSS, and then plopping that unit in front of the Kench. Colossus,
Scion.
exactly, like playing Colossuses and outpositioning a Kench player, putting the Colossus in front of their Kench, so then the Kench can't play the game. That's legit counterplay. Is Kench still in a pretty toxic spot, even with that counterplay? Yes, but there is counterplay that exists to Kench, and that's why I don't think we're gonna be like, oh, just remove Kench from the game straight up. But there's no counterplay to Yordles. Like, the counterplay to Yordles is try to beat them as hard as possible, but even then, they're farming 2-star units for free, so it's hard to do that.
There's very little counterplay to Mercs.
That
Like
too.
Lost
It's
Street
so
Mercs,
hard to
unless you
think
want
about
to
Merc is
open.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's so like they can open for it, and then the thing is like when a Merc player rolls down, like if you roll to 0 at any point in the game, you're probably gonna win your next round.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, it's really when you're trying to go for some dumb stuff like 10, 11 loss, like
Mhm.
12 loss, that's when it's 9 even. But like, if you don't decide to like take that risk and you go for the 7 Merc cash out, more often than not, it's free.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yep. So while econ traits are fun, they're toxic.
Yeah,
And
and
hopefully
it's
moving because we're gonna keep
yeah.
getting them. Hopefully moving forward, I think I mean, I even said 16 pairs at 5 rate balancing has been great, and we're getting the game's getting better, the scene's getting better, everything's getting better set to set. So I'm sure where they're gonna. I mean, everyone's where they're gonna keep econ traits in every set. They're gonna get better at balancing them,
Yeah,
and
hopefully.
just takes feedback,
I think,
positive, or not positive feedback, but just like constructive feedback, not like fuck
yeah,
more dog, I'm gonna come to your house and punch you in the head. Like that's not what you say. You
that's a
say
big yikes.
yeah,
Yeah. I
don't
think
do that.
end of the day, they're fun, and they're gonna, like, the harsh realities are gonna be in the game, but they need to be balanced and they need to be risky.
Yep,
Mhm.
very risky, more risky than they are.
It's
'Cause
sort
right now
of
there's no
like
risk.
the way that I like to think about TFT is it's a game based around decisions. This is really why I was drawn to the game and why I stopped playing certain other games, because TFT has a lot of decisions involved with it. When those decisions sort of get dumbed down for like whatever reason, because you can choose an opener, but you have Mercs, so obviously you play Mercs 100% of the time. Or like you have Yordles, so you play Yordles 100% of the time because you can get the gold. When everything is sort of more in RNG, that's a lot when like sort of decision making gets decreased. But like I think with these econ trades, as long as the TFT team continues to sort of focus on like we still have to have very meaningful decisions in the game, and we want to introduce more decisions and sort of not make everything so clear cut what you have to play here, what you have to do here, because it's straight up just the highest value thing to do. That's sort of when the game gets at least from like a skill expression competitive standpoint, starts to become a lot more fun, is when you can make those meaningful decisions with positioning, with when to roll down, when to level, instead of just like what trades to play, what board to play, do you decide to play reroll, things like that, right? When that stuff becomes more meaningful and people sort of have to make those decisions and it's not as clear cut and they really have to weigh those options, that's when really I think like it becomes for somebody that's trying to like express skill a lot more exciting, I would say.
Yep. And that, my friends, is everything about econ trades.
Yeah, bring back Bard,
there's a lot more, but like
Bard is
there's
lit.
a lot
we
more.
covered
Bard
a
is
lot.
lit. Bring back Bard and bring back set 1 pirates back in the good old days.
In the same
When
set.
you only
Fuck
just
it.
farm gold.
Bring back Darius reroll. That shit was so much fun.
A set where the only traits are econ traits.
Take out all this Nico garbage. Like why do we get Nikos? Come on, like just give me gold. Just give me like 1 gold around for playing bad units. No Yordles where I can high roll all this garbage.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah. That is gonna do it for us. Thank you so much to everyone who's watching, listening, listening in the car, at home, wherever. And make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Follow. What was it again? A subscription on Spotify. Following something
follow
on Spotify.
on Spotify. Leave us a like on the YouTube video.
It's a follow on Spotify. Yeah.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah.
Give us your social security number, all that.
Credit card number. Everything. All the above. Also,
and mom's maiden name.
Quick big announcement. I'm going to be on Teamfight Talk Show next Wednesday, this coming Wednesday. So if anyone knows what that is, it's another podcast / talk show in the TFT community. It's going to be on the Giant Slayer Twitch channel. Again, next Wednesday. I think it's 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. EST. It's with Doa and Frodan. It's going to be really cool. So be there, be square. And again, thank you so much for listening, watching, and have a great night. Kiss a homie to everyone.
Peace.